Are you ready, kids?
Aye, Captain!
I can't hear you!
Aye, Captain!
Oh! Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
SpongeBob SquarePants!
Absorbent and yellow and porous is he.
SpongeBob SquarePants!
If nautical nonsense be something
Wait, that's
you
not
wish.
right. There we go. Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. In today's video, we are of course talking about SpongeBob SquarePants, the Cosmic Shake. And honestly, this is a good game. Okay, review over. I'm kidding. This game is actually pretty good. There's not much to say about it because it's just SpongeBob. It really feels like a SpongeBob episode, but made longer and put into a video game. Which I think that was, Super Butterbun's explanation of Battle for Bikini Bottom, which is accurate because this is a sequel, kind of, sorta. But that's basically it doesn't really matter about that. But there's a lot of things that really feel interesting about this game compared to to the previous game. For one thing, you only play as SpongeBob, and you gain little abilities as you continue through. Each level gives you a new ability, whether it's underwear slingshot, or the karate chop, or riding a horse, or so on and so forth. There's lots of little things throughout the entire game that are really interesting, and you get to play around with as you continue through the levels. And every single one of those abilities is somewhat important to getting 100% completion in your game. Whether it's trying to find all of the stuff for the side quests, or trying to find all of the golden doubloons, they're going to be somewhat important to each and every single one of them. If you want to get the several of the doubloons in the pirate level, you have to have the Super Smash from the prehistoric era level. If you want to break open the strong tiki heads, you need to have the leaf blower upgrade. If you want to sneak around and scare the ghosts, then you need to have done the Halloween level, and so on and so forth. Little things like that throughout the entire game, and it's honestly really interesting, but it also has some issues, but very few. One thing that I think is kind of interesting is that Patrick is basically your Sparks, and I do mean that he is basically your Sparks. The only difference between them is that Sparks will actually do stuff, while Patrick really doesn't. All he does is occasionally he will shapeshift his form to be an arrow to say, hey, this is where you should go, which is not always accurate. Just for an example, there is a point in the Halloween level where I decided to go up rather than go down, and Patrick pointed to a specific spot that I was going to, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll keep going that way. And then I make it to that point, and something that's blocked by by one of the, you can only get through this with the Super Smash. So, little things like that. It's not a huge deal, but it's still kind of just like, really? But little things like that, that's basically, Patrick is useless. I think that's fine. A good majority of what Patrick does is he's basically there so that you're able to talk to someone, which, granted, I think that some people might find it annoying, but a lot of what he and SpongeBob talk about are little things that are just kind of fun. SpongeBob will occasionally start singing, "The Krusty Krab pizza is the pizza for you and me," as he's gliding down, and he and Patrick will have some witty banter every now and again. It doesn't feel like too much, but also, like, there's a lot of repeated lines. You won't be hearing them, like, constantly, but if you go through a level multiple times, then you will be hearing that over and over again, which is why I recommend waiting until you have gotten every single upgrade before you go back to any location. Which means waiting until Glove World, you've completed all of Glove World before you go back to all of those previous levels. Speaking of Glove World, by the way, with Glove World, you can actually get every single golden doubloon in the world before you complete it, except for like 2 of them. So, like I said, complete Glove World, and then you can go back and get all of the golden doubloons, get all of the side quests done. Pick up all of the side quests before you continue, especially get the one from Plankton to find Spot, because Spot is literally in every single level, so going out of your way to get him as you're going through the levels, it'll save you some time later on when you're trying to find where the heck is this thing. In fact, you'll be able to get Spot in pretty much every level, except for, I think, the first level, on your first playthrough, on your first way through, which, that's fantastic. That saves you a lot of time going through it. And the only reason that you can't do that for the first level is because you don't get the side quest until after you complete the first level. So, yeah. But, yeah, it's a fairly simple game, and it's rather interesting. I do think that there are certain things that it feels like they should probably have done a little bit more with, such as the jelly. You really should have a little bit more use for the jelly. Because basically all that jelly does is it is for collecting the different costumes that you have. About half, a little bit more than half, I think, of the costumes that you get for the game are unlocked by getting golden doubloons, and then you have to purchase each and every single one of them. And it's not hard, because you will still have after you've completed the entire game, you'll still have 20 doubloons left. So, I don't know exactly what the point of that was, but we'll see. Maybe they're planning to do something in like a DLC or something, where you're able to use the doubloons to get more costumes or something. Maybe it will be a free DLC, or maybe it will be a actual paid DLC. I'm not certain. Maybe there's some extra levels or something like that. Hard to say at this point. But with that, you'll probably have every single costume if you do everything. And most of the different tasks are not that hard. In fact, I would say that the hardest of all of the different side quests is probably the 2 side quests that are hidden. And the only reason I say that they're hidden is because you have to go back into those levels in order to get them, which is not hard. It's basically you just need to go back into the Halloween level and back into the Glove World level, talk to somebody there, and then you will be able to go and get those quests. Those quests are not that hard. They can be a little bit annoying because they're significantly harder versions of of the other gold doubloons that you get throughout that level, for the Glove World stuff. But by doing those side quests, you also get some the last 2 costumes, which is a Flying Dutchman costume and a Rainbow SpongeBob costume. So, if you want to get them, that's how you do it. But as for the rest of the game, it's just a little bit of fun. You can go around smashing everything. And like I said, jelly. It's hardly useful. Literally every single costume costs 500 jelly, and you'll have that very easily. As the gold doubloons, a vast majority of them, you need to have something from a future level in order to get them. So, yeah, needless to say, once you have them, once you have those special abilities, you can just go back through the level and get them again. Or if you missed a gold doubloon in the previous time, don't worry too much about it, because you can just go back later. Same thing goes for the golden spatulas. Golden spatulas do nothing. They are literally just there for a reminder that, hey, this is a sequel to Battle for Bikini Bottom. Which, yeah, fair enough. But the game itself is really fun, and I think that that's a fantastic thing that they did with every single thing that you do feels like it's fixing Bikini Bottom little by little. You go through each level fixes a little bit of the town. You get some extra side quests or stuff like that you can do to go and get Patrick's sticky notes, or if you want to, or you could also do some other things, and it's rather interesting. One thing that I do find kind of funny is that the Tiki heads have returned from Bikini Bottom, from Battle for Bikini Bottom, but they're significantly bigger, and SpongeBob makes reference to this. It's just the first time that you see a Tiki, but once you do, it's just like, oh, that's funny. That's a little bit funny. That he makes reference to the fact that they are significantly bigger. And it's there's nothing game breaking about this game. It's just a good game, and it's hard to say anything bad about it. I think that the only people that are not gonna like SpongeBob are people who don't like SpongeBob, and that's it. And I think that that is honestly impressive to see a game that the only people that will dislike it are people who dislike the character, especially considering the fact that a lot of video games based off of movies, books, TV shows, a lot of them fail, and they have a lot of issues. And I have to admit that the original Battle for Bikini Bottom kind of was actually pretty good for its time as well. It did basically the same thing, where it's a game that every SpongeBob fan will enjoy, and the people that won't enjoy it will be the people who don't like SpongeBob, and that's it. I can't think of a single person that would not like this. If you are just someone who likes the SpongeBob memes, you can play this game for the memes, and it's fun. I think that that's incredible that so much is packed into this little game that you can just have a load of fun. And beyond that, nothing else is really that interesting. The game... very few games have actually done this well. Most games that are based off of a movie, a series, or a book, they only take from the first bit, such as the Aragon game. That literally is just a carbon copy of the original game. The Harry Potter games, they're just taking from the movie. The only real games that feel like they are fresh and new besides these SpongeBob games is VeggieTales and Spiderwick Chronicles. Yeah, that does not make sense to me. Legitimately, I've talked about Larry Boy and the Bad Apple before, and that game I really enjoyed back in the day. Same goes for Spiderwick Chronicles. Both games are significantly fun, and they're just nonsense. They just add like little things. They take the story of these of their original stories, and they improve on them. They make them better, and I love that. There are other games like it, but those two I think are it's really interesting. There are others as well, but a lot of them seem to be children's games. Key term there, children's games. Interesting concept that the children's games are the better versions of... they've improved on their specific game, on their specific series, whatever it is, whether it's the movie, a series, or a book. Whatever it is, that seems to be the best option, which, wow, who would have thought? But anyways, guys, I think that's it for this video. If you haven't played SpongeBob, Battle for Bikini Bottom, or Cosmic Shake, I do absolutely recommend them, especially if you're a SpongeBob fan. Which, if you're watching this video, why aren't you? But with that, I think that this game has done a fantastic job, and hopefully they'll make another game before too long. But Sparks Patrick, maybe don't do that again. Maybe or make him better. That's my only gripe. But anyways, guys, I've been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys in the next video. But on.